Okay, guys. Right, having a look at trying to rejuvenate these pads on the clutch. It looks like a non-runner because this has had multiple coats of white spirit or mineral spirit over the last couple of days, and it's as rock hard as when I started. So, no, I don't think there's any hope of rejuvenating this. I'd love to know what the material originally was. I took it off. I took the actual material off the other plate, and it's rock hard, and it has like a what I guess I could best describe as sort of bubbles of air all the way through it. So I'm really not sure. Maybe it was some sort of rubber. Definitely had contact adhesive on the back here. Anyway, the consensus is basically to use rubber tap washers. However, I can't get one that size because that's kind of big. Biggest one I can find is this size here. And of course, as you can see, it doesn't have the same surface area as the original one. However, when I hold it up to the actual flywheel with the raised pieces on it, it covers all of those little teeth. So any extra is effectively not really utilized, so I reckon this is good enough. The only problem with it though is it's not thick enough. So if I compare it to what was there before, when I assemble all this thing together, it's somewhat closer than the ones that are fitted to my radio right now. So the problem there might be when I come to adjust the forks that adjust this. It might be a challenge, so I need to put something. I thought I might put two washers and glue them together. However, I came up with something slightly different, which is a cork pad glued on here, and then glue this washer to the cork pad, and then I think we'll have enough thickness on the plates. So I'm gonna do that up as best I can and glue it to both these plates off of the donor set before I go any further. And I think I might have found out the secret of getting this whole mechanism out of the radio without damaging and bending the chassis, which is basically to take the shaft out and then drop everything else down. The only problem with all that is, of course, marking it up so you put everything back the right way, and yeah, there could be fun and games trying to line it all up when I come to put it back together. So that's the plan. I'm going to make up these two plates and have them ready. Then I'll get the actual set, and I'll mess around with that to see if I can fix it without having to take it apart first. I don't think that's going to be very successful, but at least I can say I had a shot at it. And then we'll be into a fairly significant strip down of that set to get to the point where I can take all this out, put these new discs in, and then put it all back together and set it all up again. So, as I say, once I get that done, I'll give a little update. Okay, so there we go with the two cork pieces underneath. I cut out the center hole in the cork with a Forstner bit, which went reasonably well. I mean, I did it by hand, so it's not entirely dead on center or anything. But then, so long as these guys are concentric with the outside, we're good. Right, let's glue these guys on. Okay guys, so here we have two plates with new pads. They might actually be a little bit too thick now, but hey, better too thick than too thin. So right, there we go. So yep, they're all catching quite nicely. Now, of course, I'm hoping I don't need these things at all. I'm hoping that when I get this set up on the bench and have a look, I'll be able to loosen off the dial cord tension and everything will be tickety-boo. However, not a betting man, but if I was, I wouldn't bet on that turning out to be the case. And so at least if it does turn out that I have to take this whole thing out, I'll have everything that I need, hopefully, to just swap these over and take the other ones out and carry on. Okay, I guess there's no escaping it at this point. There's nothing else to do except get the setup on the bench. Okay, the chassis is out of the cab. So first thing is make sure that the problem is still manifest when the chassis is out of the cab. Because it could be that when I bolt the cab in, it distorts the chassis in some way, and that's making it worse. But no, I'm sure you can't see it in the camera, but the dial pointer is right here, and you can probably hear the clutch just skipping. Got a medium wave. Here's the dial pointer right here, and you can see it moves fine. It moves just fine. Well, it moves 90% fine. Okay, at least, so I got to take all the knobs and the glass off because they're so fragile. I don't want to risk anything there, although I may have a surprise with the glass later. We'll see. Okay, let's get these knobs and the glass off out of the way. Okay guys, so this is the mechanism in the actual set. I think maybe what happened over time is the actual position of this flywheel was slightly too far towards the front of the set in this direction, because I don't know if you can see it in the film, but there is almost no material on the pad here on the front for AM, yet AM is working a lot better than FM, and there's a lot more material on that plate for FM. So what I did was, just to test it out, is I loosened this and I moved this wheel back to see if that would improve the situation at all, and it didn't. And I think what's happened is there are some reasonable grooves in the front for AM, and so even when I move the wheel back further away from this plate, it still drives when I engage. But even though this is now a lot closer, and so there's in theory more pressure on it when you engage this wheel, it still slips. It grabs a little better, but in one direction it slips totally all the time. So I don't see any way around this other than the complete strip down to try and change those two discs. I did find, I don't know if it's a contributing factor, but I think there may be something wrong with how this is strung, because I noticed as it goes around the travel, right at the end, one of the cords wants to jump the grooves on the wheel and go to the groove next to it. So you can hear like a snap sound as it gets towards the end. And so that's probably something I need to look at as well. But yeah, I'm going to have to spend a fair amount of time figuring out the sequence of events here to get all that gubbins out of there without making a complete mess. So it looks like the way to remove this whole mechanism here is there is a circlip on the end of this shaft right here. So I got to get that off. and then once all the dial cords are off and everything, etc., then theoretically I just loosen the big screw on the flywheel here, and I should be able to pull that shaft all the way through the front. Because there is a shoulder on it right here, which stops the shaft pushing back, and there is a circlip on here which stops it going forward. So in theory that's all that's holding the shaft in place, and everything then has to lift out through the top because you have the whole fork mechanism underneath, so you can't drop anything down. So fun and games. Still, you didn't serve a 5-year aeronautical engineering apprenticeship for nothing, I guess. Let's give it a shot. Before I go stripping down the chassis, I sort of pseudo reassembled this clutch mechanism so that I have the plate on each side, because I had the idea that the fork which activates these two was actually adjustable in terms of width, and so the thickness of the pads on the plates here wasn't going to be that critical. However, I remembered incorrectly because the fork on this particular chassis is fixed. So that means that the distance between the two outer plates here, which are used to effectively activate the clutch, is critical. And so I got about 37.5 mil here. And so, for instance, if it turns out that the fork in the set in the chassis is like 35, then moving the fork, activating the fork won't activate the clutch. So I may have to redo the plates on here, or more than likely what I'll do is when I take the two plates out of the chassis clutch, I'll just read those without the cork, and I'll just use the tap washer on its own. So I have that option, but yeah, there you go. I should learn to stop trusting my memory. So I think the Siemens set that I did is the one that had the adjustable fork. This one is fixed. Oh well, let's take this thing apart and see what we find out. Yeah, a couple of by-the-by things I noticed. I actually have two cracked keys here. So the FM one has got a crack on it, and the power off has a bad crack on it. Now I did take 3 off the donor set, so we have 3 replacements. So what I'm hoping I can do is cut this off with a Dremel, because to pull these things off on the donor set, you kind of have to bugger up that little spring steel thing that sort of grabs the sides of the inner part of the key here. And so what I'm hoping I can do is cut this off and salvage the spring steel clip out of each of these keys, so that when I put the new one on, it'll have a good grip and it won't come loose. The other one is a memory problem. I was sure this dial pointer had been badly damaged and I'd had to repair it, but it's fine. So it's obviously from a different project. So at least I don't have to worry about that.